Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we shall learn about a chapter from Standard 7th History textbook of the Maharashtra Board. The name of the chapter is The Administration System of Shivaji Maharaj. This chapter explains us about how systematically the Maharaj organized his kingdom after attaining the Swaraj. So let's begin with the lesson, the administration of the Swaraj. Now, this is the time when Shivaji Maharaj had already founded the Swaraj. No sooner he got himself crowned on 6th June 1674 at the Raigad fort, and after that he marched to the south and accomplished the Dakshin Digvijay. Here, Dakshin refers to the south. So Maharaj got hold of many places in the southern part of India. So, by and large, the areas of Swaraj were Nasik, Pune, Satara, Sangli, Kolhapur, Sindhudurg, Ratnagiri, Raigad, and Thane districts of Maharashtra, plus the states he conquered in the south. So, as you know, that Shivaji Maharaj had indeed acquired a very large empire. Now, if this empire is so large, then the management of these places should be done efficiently. And also at the same time, Maharaj wanted to make sure people's welfare in these places. So Shivaji had founded the Ashtapradhan Mandal, also known as the Council of Eight Ministers. And there were 8 departments in his administration system. So 8 departments and 8 ministers. Each minister headed a particular department, and it was only in the hands of the Maharaj to appoint or remove that minister from his post. Now, Maharaj selected these members on the basis of their merit and achievements. Means only those who were most qualified and capable for this job, they were placed as ministers. Now, in those times, many rulers would pay wages to their ministers by giving them certain rights. They were known as jagirs and watans. Example, to collect revenue or tax from a certain region. This collection of the revenue would be equal to their wages. But Maharaj instead gave his ministers their salaries in cash, and they were paid a very good amount. The policy regarding agriculture. Now, Shivaji Maharaj paid very close attention to the welfare of the farmers because he knew how important agriculture was, as it was the one of the main occupations even in those times. Shivaji Maharaj had encouraged peasants to bring even the uncultivated land under cultivation. The farmers were provided with bullocks, plows, and good seeds for sowing. Whenever there was a drought or the crops were lost due to heavy rains, the farmers were excused from paying their revenue. In this way, Maharaj saw to the welfare of the farmers. Not only this, he had given strict warning to the officers that they should not collect more revenue than the amount that was fixed. To carry out all these responsibilities efficiently, Maharaj had appointed one of his most capable and experienced minister, that is Anaji Datto. So now let us see who were the ministers that comprised the Ashtapradhan Mandal of Shivaji Maharaj. The first one was Moro Trimbak Pingle. His role was of the Pradhan. The Pradhan was in charge of running the administration and making arrangements for the conquered territories. The second was Ramchandra Nilkant Muzumdar. His designation was of the Amatya. The Amatya kept the accounts of the state. The third was Annaji Datto. His job profile was of the Sachiv. The Sachiv prepared royal edicts. A royal edict was an official order from the king. So Annaji Datto used to prepare these as per the order of Shivaji Maharaj. The fourth was Dattaji Trimbak Vaknis. He was the mantri. He would prepare official letters of communication from the ruler to the people. The fifth was Hambir Rao Mohite. He was the Senapati. He would organize the army and see to the protection of the kingdom. The sixth was Ramchandra Trimbak Dabir. His designation was of the Sumant. He maintained foreign relations for the prosperity of the Swaraj. The seventh was Niraji Ravaji. He was the Nyayadish. His duty was to provide justice. Means, if any village matter was brought to the court, then it was Niraji who would give justice to the people. And the last of the ministers was Moreshwar Pandit Rao. His role was of the Pandit, and he would look after the religious matters of the people. Now, let us come to the village economy of that period. Now, in those times, the villages were self sufficient. Like the farmers gave a particular share from whatever they produced to the village artisans, and in return, the artisans would supplement their produced goods and fulfill the needs of the local people. This was called the baluta. Trade and business. Even in today's time, trade and business are very important for the growth of any nation. In those times, too, Shivaji Maharaj knew that a kingdom will not prosper without an increase in trade. In those times, trade was carried out by the merchants. They would bring new and different goods into the kingdom for sale. If the demand of these goods would increase, then they would bring plenty of these goods into the kingdom. In this way, trade was helping to increase the wealth of a kingdom. Shivaji Maharaj perceived the important role of the merchants in the kingdom, which is expressed in the Agnya Patra describing that merchants are the ornaments of the kingdom and the glory of the king. Shivaji Maharaj also protected the industries of his time. There is also an example related to it where he protected the salt industry in the Konkan. Now, what had happened was that some traders used to import salt from the nearby Portuguese territories and would sell them in the Swaraj of Shivaji. So, this had adversely affected the local trade of salt in the Konkan areas. So, in order to stop these activities, Shivaji Maharaj began to charge heavy duty on the salt that would be imported from the Portuguese territory into the Swaraj. In this way, the imported salt would then become costly, so common people would not buy it, and gradually the import of this salt would decrease. and the sale of the local salt would increase. Now, let us have a look at the military organization of Shivaji Maharaj. There were two main divisions of the army of Shivaji Maharaj, that is, the infantry, and the other was the cavalry. In the infantry, there were officers such as the Havaldar and the Jumledars. The chief of the infantry was called the Sarnobat. He was the highest officer in the infantry. In the cavalry, also, there were two types, that is, the Shiledars and the Bargirs. The Shiledars had their own horses and weapons, while the Bargirs were provided with horse and weapons by the state. In the cavalry, the Bargirs were more in number. The highest officer in the cavalry was also called as the Sarnobat. In the infantry, the soldiers were known as foot soldiers, and in the cavalry, the soldiers were the ones who fought on horseback. Did you know that Shivaji Maharaj also had formed an intelligence department in the Swaraj? This was formed to protect the kingdom from enemies, and so there was a need to obtain precise and timely information about the movements of the enemy. Now, here, Bahirji Nayak was the head of this intelligence department. He was extremely skilled in his job. He had at once collected accurate and detailed information about Surat before Maharaj could put a raid on it. Forts were of great importance in the medieval age. Possessing a fort made it possible to keep an eye on the surrounding area, because if there was a foreign invasion, then it would be possible to protect the people, as they would then take shelter in these forts. Not only that, a stock of food grains, war materials, and ammunitions could also be stored in the forts during the wartime. The Sindhudurg fort and the Padmadurg fort are of great examples of the forts possessed by Maharaj. It was the belief of Maharaj that that the one who has a navy controls the sea. Maharaj had enemies such as the Portuguese of Goa, the Siddhi of Janjira, and the British of Surat and Rajapur. These enemies, coming from the west coast of India, created obstacles for Shivaji Maharaj as he was expanding the Swaraj. So it became necessary for Maharaj to curb all these activities and protect the west coast from them. Thus, Maharaj raised a navy. In all that we have learnt from this lesson, we get an understanding that Maharaj cared for his subjects and wanted them to be independent. And for this, it was important to have a disciplined administration. With this, we come to the end of this lesson. Thanks for watching.